Hey guys, check out Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp, a fully updated second edition, reviewed and revised by an expert panel of certified Italian wine ambassadors from across the globe. The book also includes an edition by Professor Scienza, Italy's leading vine geneticist. To pick up a copy today, just head to Amazon.com or visit us at MamaJumboShrimp.com. Welcome to another episode of On the Road Edition, hosted by Stevie Kim. Each week, she travels to incredible wine destinations, interviewing some of the Italian wine scene's most interesting personalities, talking about wines, the foods, as well as the incredible travel destinations.
All right. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. And today, we have a special guest. She popped by. Her name is Cha McCoy. And Chow Cha. That's kind of a tongue twister, actually.
That's why I have to make sure they dance cha-cha-cha. Chow Cha. Especially Ciao Bella.
Yeah, Ciao Bella.
Ciao Bella.
So you lived in Italy, actually, right?
Yes, I lived here for 2 years. This is actually how I got into wine. I was doing my MBA in Rome back in 2010 and studying international finance and moved back to the States, New York City, where I'm from, in 2012. And found myself falling in love with wine while I was here. I like to say it was my souvenir for living here. Some people find, husbands and...
You found wine.
I found wine.
I think that's kind of a good plan. Listen, but let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, so where are you from originally? From New York, right?
New York City, Harlem, New York.
Right. And how did you get to Italy? Why did you come to Italy?
I think that just being a New Yorker, you're obviously exposed to Italian Americans from a New York perspective. Mm-hmm. So I like saying that it felt very natural for me to choose Italy, but it was an option for my MBA program to actually complete or do your entire MBA in Rome. I was tired of doing my full-time job. I'm an engineer.
What were you doing?
Yeah, I'm an engineer, civil engineer by trade, and I was ready to switch it up. I had that quarter-life crisis, I guess. Quit my job after I got into my MBA program and was very interested in moving away. That was it. And they told me about the program. I was super excited to get accepted and move out to Rome for it.
Okay. So you were working as an engineer in New York?
Yes.
What kind of engineer?
Yes, civil construction. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's a big jump.
Yeah, right. I guess I started learning so much about winemakers having engineering backgrounds now. I think we actually end up being aligned anyway, but especially farming techniques, agricultural engineering. Many people have that farming background, and I end up connecting when I talk to winemakers and I should say vineyard managers the most.
Mm-hmm. So where are you based now?
That's a good question. Everyone.
Because you lived in Italy for 2 years.
Correct.
Right? And then...
Moved back to New York.
You moved back to New York, and you worked in New York for some time?
I worked in New York, yeah.
What were you doing in New York?
Still engineering to pay my bills, because New York is expensive.
Very.
And in 2017, 2018 is actually when I transitioned completely into wine, meaning I quit engineering. But I was still working at a wine shop in Harlem, New York, called The Winery. Mm-hmm. That's my first job in wine as well, back in 2012 when I moved back to New York. And I was doing that part-time as I was still working in engineering until...
Yeah, you had the wine bug. You caught the wine bug.
Correct.
And you were still like, because, to make money, let's be very honest here,
right,
in wine, it's not that easy.
I think that, and I've mentioned you in many rooms as a woman who inspired me, especially women of color who inspired me in this industry, just following, I like saying, the greats and seeing that you got to think outside the box if you're not coming in with fourth generation winemaker money in this industry. So you have to be creative, innovative in order to make it. And so you are someone, when I learned about you, I knew that I can make it, because I see there's hope, but I got to be creative. I can't think linear like my father's father is going to pass me down and be born into the industry in that way. So I kept working in engineering while still visiting a lot of winemakers, and that's actually like what I talk about the most is how I ask that favorite question: what was that wine bottle that made you fall in love with wine and give you the wine bug? And I always tell them, it was no bottle. I moved to Italy, and I think travel has always been the place where I'm able to connect and be able to understand wine the most, is being in the terroir, in the dirt, talking with the winemakers. So that's always been part of my motto about learning about wine. Get outside the books, go out there and learn from the winemakers. So for engineering helped pay for me to be able to move to Chile for 3 months. And I just started going on a road. So if I just took the job, many times I asked to be a sommelier and I wasn't getting the roles, even though I knew Italian. And I was like, this is confusing. How come I'm not getting these jobs? We know now, because many people are speaking up about being a woman of color, being a black woman, and not getting the jobs that we knew we was very much qualified for. I just took it as, okay, I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep going out there on my own. And thank God I had the funds to do that for my engineering job. So I continue to travel to Italy. I want to say I've been to most of the regions here from my 2 years living here and then coming back afterwards. I developed a community living in Rome that I continued to visit.
So tell us a little bit about where you visited, your learning experience about Italian wine. This is called Italian Wine Podcast.
Right.
We do often do kind of the deep dive into the Italian wine. Tell us your experience in Italian wine.
Yeah, I fell in love with, I was basically somewhere around Canubi, I believe. I just didn't know what Canubi was.
Right.
And I think that when I was traveling at that time, I didn't know the levels and, this is Piedmont, you got to learn about Barolo. I just knew somebody said, my Zio has a house over here. Do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, and just learning, I would say very authentically, and it felt very accessible when I lived here. So that's why when I went back to America and, who's drinking what and this kind of cult around certain wines and producers, I was like, I met him. He's a very nice guy. I don't really, but on the wine list or around other Psalms, you could get this energy that people were like praising the guy. I'm like, he's like a dad who owns a few goats. And so I had a more human perspective.
Right.
And I really love that. So just being able to spend time in Puglia, I've been in the Marche, Chianti, of course. These are over a decade worth of traveling, specifically here. I'm here for Veneto on an industry trip. They brought us in to do a deep dive on Soave and Valpolicella. And on my own, I'm actually connected with a lot of people with Prosecco, DOC. I was with DOCG yesterday, and I'll be spending the rest of my time with the DOCG region. I've been teaching master classes in New York on Prosecco. So for me, the fact that I was in Veneto right now, it made sense for me to be able to have that kind of in the trenches conversations with some of the makers that I feel like needs more recognition. So that's my story as far as Italy, continuously coming back over the years, visiting what I call my Italian family, which is basically my friends who never moved back to America. And I would say my last trip here was in 2018. And yeah.
That's quite a long time ago.
Yeah, well, the pandemic in between.
Right.
And then I moved to Portugal.
Right. Okay. So there's a slight detour into Portugal. How did that happen? Why didn't you stay? Why weren't we able to keep you in Italy?
I know. You may get me back. This trip has convinced me. Verona's beautiful. I can tell you that. I didn't know you.
Yeah. Okay.
I wish I had more mentors. I think I really was at a loss with Italy. I didn't know how to actually break in and do what I wanted to do. I also was feeling very, just living in Italy and not knowing how to make something work at the time. I was still willing to do engineering the same way I did in New York and then be able to work my way into Italy. But to be honest, after I left, I actually learned more going back to the States and seeing how the industry move, learning, especially in New York City, knowing how to maybe even, if you can't get a seat at the table, maybe just being in the room at all, being able to be in contact with so many people. And then I was like, I'm ready to go. And when I was ready to go, I just didn't know where. And to be honest, of course, returning back to Italy was on the list or an option. But I really wanted to explore somewhere new and possibly somewhere a little bit cheaper. So Portugal ended up being less expensive. In Lisbon, I don't know if you've been to Lisbon.
Yeah. But is it considerably less expensive in Lisbon?
Where
were you in Italy? Based in Rome?
In Rome, yeah, in
okay.
Prati.
Okay.
Today, I would say no. But at that time when I was researching, 2017, 2018, it was lower if you lived in the outskirts and very easy to move around. So that was what I needed to. And then obviously straight flights to New York so I can get back to family. Because I also thought about South Africa, but I just knew that the commute or trying to get back home was going to be more difficult if that was the case. So, but that's what ended up winning, is wanting to be on the beaches whenever I wanted to. That kind of what they call surf and sun life of Lisbon. So that's how they got me.
Are you enjoying this podcast? There's so much more high-quality wine content available from Mama Jumbo Shrimp. Check out our new wine study maps, our books on Italian wine, including Italian Wine Unplugged, The Jumbo Shrimp Guide to Italian Wine, Sangiovese Lambrusco and Other Stories, and much, much more on our website, mamajumboshrimp.com. Now back to the show.
So you're in Lisbon. What are you doing in Lisbon now?
I was a sommelier for a Michelin star restaurant in the Barrio Alto region or area of Lisbon. And then next thing you know, the pandemic hit and the restaurant closed. And then I found myself at a loss, living in Portugal or a foreign country alone with no family, where everybody else was able to, go back home or be sheltered with their family. And I didn't have that. And so that was something where I was like, okay, I have to rethink life. I think everybody was having one of those moments during the pandemic. And so I was excited to be able to open up I saw that Lisbon at that time, natural wine, low intervention wine was becoming a thing. And a lot of New York distributors and import companies, I would see them come into Portugal to learn about wine. And I actually thought, okay, there's an opportunity for me to help and consult. The one thing I do know between Italian wines, and not trying to say there's not, doesn't need any help from anyone, but is that Portugal was definitely underrepresented. It's not a big section in your WSET studies, in most books. So that's why
Italy is underrepresented in WSET. This is one of the reasons why I started Veneto International Academy, because there is no deep dive. And I mean, to be quite honest, Italy's quite complicated, right? Like the Italians, on the other hand.
So that's how Portugal ended up winning for me, because what you've created here with Italy, I realized that Portugal needed help. And therefore, when there's a place that has a need and you feel like you can support, I saw myself as possibly being an asset. So I created Airbnb experiences where I would take people who come into Lisbon onto tours to smaller vineyards that doesn't have like a map. They're not on the map, I guess, for you to find on your own. I was psalming. I had no days off. And then Lisbon has become a tech hub, and they created an incubator program for people in the food and beverage space. And so I was part of a 9-week program on top of that for entrepreneurs in food and beverage. So that ended up being, and I ended up doing a business competition for 10,000 euros. So that was a big, no days off for 9 weeks straight of me being on the restaurant floor, me being part of the accelerator program. And then when I thought I could sleep, I may get booked for Airbnb experience. So that was I had fun doing it, though, to be honest, but I was exhausted at the end. But I see there's a lot of growth and potential, and I think more people are paying attention to Portuguese wines. And I was trying to be the you of Portugal in that way, where how do we get more people interested in underrepresented regions and grapes, of course, too.
Right. So listen, I'm reading your bio here, and you have thousands of accolades, right? Wine Enthusiast as Top 40 Under 40, Wine Spirits Magazine, Rising Black Voices in Wine, etc., etc. Do the Europeans or the Portuguese even know what this is? You're very, humble, but you are, established wine personality. But do the Portuguese understand that, or the Europeans in general? Because I feel like, there is a little bit of disconnect, right, of American wine world and the European wine world. What is your thought on that?
There's two parts, and I would say that especially since I have the experience of working on the floor as a somm. So how they respect me as a somm working on the floor in Portugal with those accolades is different than me flying in and saying, hi, I'm coming to Prosecco, and someone's treating me like, oh, Cha, we would love to host you, et cetera, right? So how do the winemakers, the marketing departments feel about everything that I've accomplished and what I've done up to today? And then when you work on the floor, I think now you're getting a real life experience, right? Now you're immersed. They don't care about your accolades, go get the bottles, right? So I've had both of being with the people, not just someone flying in and visiting. And so I would say maybe contention on the floor. You still got to work your way up in this restaurant. You're not the boss, so that's just a reality check. No one cares about your top 40, under 40. You don't do the wine list here. I have a boss, so you still got to work your way up and make a name for yourself in your local community. And so I appreciate you saying that about me being humbled about what I've accomplished, but I'm here to
You're still
learn.
quite young.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. I am still quite young. And then hopefully there's something to, this empire is really a bigger mindset than I don't need to be the boss at this restaurant because I'm going for something bigger. So I guess that's my mindset. In the room, if you're the one that is creating the wine list, no problem. I respect your decision. So it's very humbling to be in places where they're like, well, you don't know the language fluently and we need you to be the expediter. So you will not be working on the floor doing any of the wines today. And so that was the reality of what I went through.
So do you speak Portuguese? Is your Portuguese better than Italian?
Oh, no. It's crazy. I feel like I came off the Train Italia and feeling like I was like, oh, wow, I think I just got my ticket. I ordered my food.
Right,
I was like, I didn't speak English to no one today.
Right.
It made me feel good.
Right.
Portugal, no.
No, right.
And the interesting part is because in Portugal is so many people who actually look more like me. So more people think I'm Portuguese walking around. So everyone would ask me for directions, especially if they think I'm from Brazil or from Angola, or Sao Tome. So a lot of the ex-colonies have moved over back to Portugal or to Portugal for a better life or make more money. And they think I'm just their cousin. And that's okay with me too. So there's a little bit difference because I get tested way more often because most people think that I speak Portuguese there.
Right.
I try though.
Yeah. So listen, Cha, what are your ambitions? Like, what would you like? How do you see yourself? Where I know this is kind of, I know it's very cliche, but where do you see yourself in like 3 to 5 years down the road? Where would you like to be? I mean, of course it's about the journey, not the destination, but where do you see yourself?
Well, you know what? I was opening a shop when I was here in Europe, when I was living in Lisbon, a wine bar / shop. So I ended up opening a store in New York, upstate, during the pandemic on my spare time. So having that shop open and actually learning the ins and outs of a brick and mortar has been interesting now, being able to be a wine entrepreneur now I have my own space to manage, and that's up near the Finger Lakes wine region.
Finger Lakes.
I always talk about, again, small wine regions that need more help and more love. So that question, I feel pretty loaded because especially being on the trip and being here with you right now, I do hope to be back in Europe and having something established here where I'm not visiting, where I have like a headquarters here in this way. Now, with your last question, I'm debating on, is it going to be Portugal or Italy? So there's going to have to be a fight about that.
Right.
But I can tell you right now, the Portuguese would rather be confused with or battle with Italy than Spain any day, as you know.
Right.
They're like, that's a whole nother level of heat that they got. But I'm definitely in a place where I do need to be bicontinental, and that may mean having something created for me to come back to here. My book will be released by that point.
Oh, you're working on a book. You didn't tell me that.
Yes.
What are you working on?
So my wine dinner series, The Communion, which is now the name of my shop, The Communion, has now been picked up by HarperCollins.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. So The Communion, the pop-up was all about pairing wine with foods from other ethnicities and cultures. So it's been a fun journey just discovering more wines or wines I haven't had in a long time and trying to see what's going to go well with pho or what's going to go good with thé bourguignon from Senegal.
So when is this coming out?
It's due November. Okay. So let's just say is definitely coming up, where everything is going to be handed in, and we got next year to try to finalize everything with photos. And I feel like that's the next journey, is leaving a legacy behind in a way. Like
Harper, stateside or the UK?
We have the rights to it worldwide.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's So I'm excited to see.
That's fantastic. You should come to Wine and present that. Have you ever been to Wine?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's in November.
Okay.
It is actually our 10th anniversary edition, so
awesome.
It should be interesting, and it's about celebrating Italian wine ambassadors.
Oh, cool.
So we can talk about that
and educating
later.
I think that's the thing. That's the reason why the book was important, because I can reach more people through the book and educating that way. So now educating people about Prosecco in a master class or port wines. I feel like, anywhere they want me to teach and people love my style. I'm an adjunct professor right now. I love to be
whereabouts?
Syracuse University, near the store, upstate New York. So I think how do I see myself? The question is really about how can I still leave seeds of all the work that I've been doing in some way with other people, and hopefully they'll be inspired. I like calling myself like the solo traveler who've taken on the lifestyle of wine, and realized how hard it was to be in this industry, and recognize I needed to focus, put my head down, and I committed. And hopefully when people look at me, they realize the benefits they see that I'm reaping now. It all comes from true hard work, true dedication, and studying and grinding out. So hopefully that's what I'm leaving behind as well.
That's fantastic. Chad, listen, I'm looking at your Insta account here. First of all, it's called Cha Squared.
Cha _ squared.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Cha _ squared. Well, what does that mean? Why is it squared?
So, funny story, I guess. My nickname growing up is Cha Cha, and I've got too grown to be called Cha Cha, so it was just like Cha squared, so me double, right? But at the same time, I realized, being a black woman in this industry, I was going to have to work twice as hard. So I was like, you're going to get me, out here grinding. No one knows where I'm at. Are you in New York or are you in Charleston? I'm also the beverage director for Charleston Wine and Food Festival for the past 2 years. So people are like, are you in Charleston? You in Italy? You in New York? I can't find you.
That's fantastic. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so
it's the Charleston
Wine and Food
Festival.
Yeah, Charleston Wine and Food Festival. It's the first week of March. It's been going on for 17 years, but I was the head of beverage for the 2022 festival and 2023. And yeah, it's a monstrosity, to say the least.
Oh my goodness.
4 days.
You keep yourself busy, young lady.
Yes. 4 days, 111 events. We would love to do an Italian masterclass. You guys should definitely come over.
Oh, we need to talk about that.
We do we have everybody teaching classes, from Eric Asimov, Alice Firing, Andre Mack. That's this past year alone. So I bring in everybody to come in and really try to set up a shop. Is
it like a B2? It's a wine lovers event, right? Or
it's actually both. So especially underneath my, I feel like my direction and inspiration, when it was more consumer driven before, more people are coming for trade because of the caliber of people who are coming. And we do wine, spirits, cocktails, beer, etc., especially with the Carolinas, very focused on beer making in that area too. Mm-hmm. I did an event, whether it's on hybrid grapes, and I mean within our classroom. So we take over a hotel each year, and we call that our beverage hub, and we take over the conference rooms, and that's where the class is. So the ones who are beyond the enthusiasts, the ones who are really the connoisseurs who want to learn more, they come to those workshops for that. The ones who want to go, drink all day at the tent outside, they have that event outside. Mm-hmm. And we have different thematic food related. Charleston is a beautiful city and amazing for culinary roots. So we do a lot of foodways, and it's all types of events. I could talk all day about that festival. Again, 111 events. We see almost 35,000 people.
How many days?
4 days.
So it's huge.
Yeah, Wednesday to Sunday, every day, nonstop.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So Cha Squared.
Yes.
You live in Portugal, but you're all over the place.
Yes. Basically.
Yeah, so how long do you stay? Like your residence in Portugal?
Well, in
what
Portugal,
does that entail?
I have... I'm back in New York because the store's in New York. So once I opened up the store last year.
Okay.
So that's where I do most, I guess that's where I would call my base today because there's so much work and to be able to help support family that's there. But so now I'm more coming into Portugal and now Italy for the first time since the store opened, which was last with construction, et cetera. I had to be focused there to get that up and running. So, but yeah, right now you'll find me more in New York than anywhere.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll have to hit you up when I'm in New York. Listen, so you're looking at your Insta account. You're quite popular.
So are you.
No, so you're active, obviously.
Oh, lightly active.
Yeah. What kind of, like, this is completely a personal branding page. Are you doing this by yourself? Or do you?
I am doing this by myself. That's probably why there's not enough posts there. But I live for my stories, though. So if you really want to keep up with me.
Give me your social media strategy. Here we go.
Okay, now you make me feel horrible because I have none personally.
Right.
But I would say, it just got overwhelming. And you know what? Of course, I would love to be paid and do partnerships with things on social media. But when you can't, I love when brands allow me to do the creative portion. Not this is what we want you to say. Mm-hmm. This is what we want, the image. And when I got too much direction from other people, I end up staying away from that because I wanted to still feel authentically like me. Mm-hmm. So I haven't done any like paid programming strategies on my social in a while.
Right.
But when I start turning into that. So I love anybody who's like, Cha, we know you. We know how you operate. I'm like, everything got to have an educational angle. I'm not here just taking pictures and looking cute in the vines for you. So that's just part of my brand.
Or in a bikini.
Yeah, you won't be. You know what, Stevie? If I can get into a bikini and look good with the extra, pandemic weight I'm carrying, I may do it because it's gonna be more of my. I made it, yo. I dropped the 15 to 20 pounds. Like I said, we're gonna open some champagne for that for sure. So, you know what? That post may be a real one because that means I dropped the weight. But yeah. So in this case, it's hard to do that. My strategy is usually when I feel inspired to say something. I post, like she's on my page right now. It's actually intimidating everybody. But, it is like the last post on my feed is literally me doing the blind tasting for Wine and Spirits magazine. And I was invited to be able to do the judging for Finger Lakes wine. So for me, I felt like this is a moment we're not usually called into the rooms. So back to what you asked about, Cha, you have 40 under 40, you're this, you're that. How do Europeans feel? Even in America, that was my first time ever being asked to judge. So, if you can have all the knowledge, if they're not calling you, I think my work speaks for itself. You was able to see that in a few minutes. But do I need to go out and call everyone literally? Maybe. Some people, I have no problem with this. But I'm always open to opportunities. And then I think people just get comfortable with calling the same person all the time or same people all the time. So hopefully, even with everything that I've accomplished, that people still realize that my heart is still in Italy, as well as, Portugal and a lot of other regions. Whenever anything is going on, whether it's classes, whether it's trips, whether it's judging, I'm always open to that.
Have you been to Etna?
Never.
We organize a trip in Taormina, in Etna area.
Oh, cool.
Every October.
Got it.
So we'll talk about that when we're off the air.
We'll love that.
But definitely, we organize it every year for the past, I think, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful trip. So hopefully you can join us.
I would hope.
Yeah. So there you go. You have something
and
to
I'll
do.
post that, okay?
Okay.
It's like this social media. Sometimes I really just want to post how you feel. Wait, hold on. Too many people are gonna watch this, but okay, this is the story. This is one for the story, so it can disappear in case I feel like I don't like them, next week.
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't want it to live forever on your feed. So I'm highly active in my stories, and I only curate, I guess, if you want to say, my traditional posts, I guess.
So listen, what's the plan? What are the summer plans?
Beyond wine, I really do love spirits. I think that's the great part of now having the store. We are a wine and spirit shop, and just even doing a role as the head of beverage. I get to talk to brewers, I get to talk to distillers. So I say that to say because next month I'm very excited that I'll be back in New Orleans for Tales of the Cocktail. and just geeking out on whiskeys. Today is National Bourbon Day, whenever this get posted, if you're bourbon drinkers, and just doing deep dives on spirits as well. Just 2 weeks ago, I just got back from Jalisco, which is where tequila is from. So that's the last trip I was on before I arrived to Italy. So just being able to do the work that I believe is needed for the spirits industry. Mixologists' jobs are to be the creators, right? So some people don't ask, what is the bourbon that you use for my cocktail, right? But if we take a sommelier's approach to spirits, which I like to do, it actually allows people to understand and question the same way we do about organic grapes, et cetera, right? So like natural winemaking and everybody who's going for more low intervention biodynamic farming practices, wouldn't you expect the same thing to happen for your agave, for your tequila? Tequila is now out number of sales, outpacing sales than vodka right now. So being able to understand tequila the same way and other agave spirits, I guess they're saying in Mexico, I learned everybody's very excited that tequila is doing well, but at the same time, they want them to respect the tradition and understand, just like how we have DOCs and DOCGs here, they also have their own protection. You can't make tequila anywhere. And most people just don't have that level of information yet about spirits. And so, again,
I'm just listening to you, and I understand you're so well versed, and it's complete Greek to me, paradoxically, right? So, great job with that, Cha.
Thanks.
Listen, Cha. So before we go, okay, because you have a train to catch to go to Venice,
Back
and
to
we
Venice.
need to have
Yes.
pizza and Lambrusco because that's the best combination.
I'm here for
I
it.
cannot let you go without asking you this one last question. What is your favorite wine in Italy, Italian wine, and why?
To be honest, I love Prosecco, and I think we need to be more, I guess, instead of just talking about champagne and feeling like we must, we're putting down Prosecco when we say that. I think it feels good to actually like Prosecco. So deep diving into the Rive and having Cartizze, it's been very emotional for me, to be honest, to be up there in a place that I kind of admire from afar, and hope that we have more access to some of these more higher-end Proseccos in the U.S. And thank God that's the reason why I opened my own store, is so I can buy them if I want them and have them in the shop. And I'll drink it alone if I need to. But I really do love that. And I think that I always tell people that Barolo was my first love. And that came just genuinely. I had no idea about price point, thank God. But people said, good wine is made here. I told you I had my friend Zio that became my fake uncle. For those who don't know, Zio is uncle in Italian. And I went out and visited Barolo at my early years in wine, and was very much connected to Nebbiolo. So yeah, I'm definitely a Barolo girl and Prosecco.
But listen, I must ask you one additional question. How do you explain the difference between, number one, Prosecco DOC and DOCG? I mean, two wine lovers. And then Cartizze versus, Prosecco DOCG. How do you explain these categories?
Yeah, let's start with Cartizze being almost like the Grand Cru level, if you know champagne. So if you see Cartizze, they're definitely going to say it. Prosecco may not give a lot of information, but that tells you about the quality. The more information you see on a bottle of Prosecco, I think that then explains that you're moving up. In the U.S., you can find Prosecco for $5. So
exactly.
So in this case, if someone wants to know why would I pay $50 for Prosecco and then $5 if they're all Prosecco, I always tell people, look at how much more information that usually triggers, even if you don't know what it means. If it's telling you it's coming from a specific region, sub-region, hill, in this case, Cartizze. Every Cartizze I had, which is part of the DOCG, for those who don't know, they just have additional sun exposure to the grape, mostly Glera. I want to say 99% Glera, with clearly some field blends of Trebbianos roaming around, but very small amount. And that fruit characteristic that you got, I got everything from, some typical notes people would say with Prosecco's, like apples and pears, etc. This one had hazelnuts. It had apricots. And I was like, this is where we need to be. This is the Prosecco that needs to be more out in the world. So particularly from that, DOCG from Valdobbiadene and Cogliano, I think there's something about people just it's okay about just leaning into that these are sophisticated regions and pointing them out. I think that just like Portuguese, there is a language barrier, so that's something I realized that language will stop people from purchasing if they don't know how to say it. So we just need people to at least identify these as two regions for higher level quality, and I think there's something to say about the winemakers who are choosing to go the more, I guess, rigorous or quality control route too. So, but DOC is just as good. I'm excited to be able to go into DOC for the rest of my journey this week as well. I think people forget about there are still biodynamic and organic winemakers that's making Prosecco. And then more interestingly, I love being able to talk about Col Fondo to people because everyone in my store comes in and is like, I want Pet Nat.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, we need to let you know that's a style that's just, with yeast, ancestral method. There's other winemakers in other regions that call it something else. So Pet Nat is just branding at this point too for a lot of people, a lot of consumers, I'm saying. So they're like, oh, I know that brand, the idea, quote unquote, like Pet Nat. So let me just grab the Pet Nat. But they don't know what Col Fondo is, and it's in the same section, So
Right.
how do I? So I think that's where our difficulty is being able to get people to understand these other Italian words that are still under the umbrella of Prosecco, so they can be able to understand it. So there's some work to be done, and hopefully I'll be doing it.
Cha, I love Cha, first of all, number one. That's what I'll be calling you from now on.
Okay, no problem.
I'm sorry. You are definitely a Prosecco ambassador.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to talk to the consortiums about that. Okay, great. Thank you so much for popping by. And let's go have that pizza in Lambrusco.
Let's do it. Cheers.
And some Prosecco if you want. Okay. Ciao ragazzi.
Ciao,
Alla prossima.
ciao.
Thank you for joining us on another installment of On the Road Edition, hosted by Stevie Kim. Join her again next week for more interesting content in the Italian wine scene. You can also find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, to watch these interviews and the footage captured of each location. Chin chin!